It's Showtime Synergy, the latest review podcast from the Geekcast Radio Network, is coming. So join TFG1 Mike, Nicole Hailstorm, and myself, Lady Rec, as we will be reviewing all 65 episodes of Gem and the Holograms in a 25-episode-long podcast. You can find Showtime Synergy on iTunes and geekcastradio.com. We are the truly outrageous podcast that you want to be listening to.
Hello and welcome to Mass Mayhem. This is episode 30. This is the finale. We made it. We survived. I am your host, TFG1 Mike. Joining me is Toon Master Tim.
Hello again.
Yes, at the very end of this podcast, you'll hear a clip with Kevin Optimus Solo Thompson and I before the end credits thing. Or I might actually play the extended credit theme song that one of our listeners sent us, and I might play that, then I might throw in the Ferris Bueller clip of, "What? It's over. Go home. What are you still doing here?" And then I'll put in Kevin's clip to kind of end the show and kind of put it on a shebang. In the clip, Kevin and I he just talks about how excited he was to do this and, to watch M.A.S.K again. And then after watching X number of episodes, it just kind of lost interest. And I'm not one of these people that if I start something, I have to finish it. I cannot not finish something.
Yeah.
No matter how horrible the torture is. I mean, those last, I think episode 28 and 29, we were both going to throw up during the podcast. But, M.A.S.K is, it's almost 30 years old. It'll be 30 years old next year in 2015. It's like, those things, and we said this last few episodes of the podcast, we basically over-romanticize the memories that we have watching this cartoon. Like, as kids don't, certain kids analyze things, but most kids just watch cartoons to watch them and enjoy them, and the concept of M.A.S.K, Transformers meets G.I. Joe, and, vehicles that transform with, drivers that are kind of not necessarily military-based, but you know what I mean? It's like, the concept is sound. The execution is crappy.
Yeah, it's built on a wonderful premise. Honestly, you have really cool vehicles. You have the suits and the incredible mask, and they all have powers. And not only that, but hey, the vehicles transform into other vehicles. So you basically get two toys in one. It was really neat. It's just that, like you said, the execution just wasn't there. They basically had a show Bible that must have just said, okay, everything has to be a treasure hunt, or in the case of the racing series, a race of some kind for something that we, that doesn't really have anything to do with the episode. Sometimes we don't even really find out what the purpose of it is. But it's just a missed opportunity. I mean, because it's such a great idea. And they really did develop some pretty cool characters. These characters do have some backstory. It's just that they didn't even use that and execute it well during the episodes. Hondo is a historian that I don't know if that ever came into play. If it did, it was very seldom ever in the episodes.
Yeah, he was a history teacher, but see, that's the thing. They basically forego the black character on the show for the French character or the Venezuelan character. Mm-hmm. Like, I think Hondo is in a total of 10 episodes or less out of all 75. That's a damn shame.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is, like, here they are. They're going to all these exotic locations. They're, after buried treasure, and there's all these historical references to things that have happened in the past, yet you know, here's a great opportunity to bring in a character like Hondo who could, have the knowledge of that backstory and add another element to the story itself. And they just don't use that. Same way they don't use Bruce Sato, who is a toy designer and engineer, or Gloria, who is also a martial artist. I would like to have seen those aspects of those characters brought into the stories rather than just have them basically just standing there being around. And really, the only way they really integrated them into the episodes was based on what vehicle that they had. Okay, well, we need a vehicle that flies, so we're going to have this character, or we need an amphibious vehicle, so let's bring in this character. And that was really the most use we got out of those characters, and very little backstory.
Yeah, like if they had gone in to create and craft a story that was based around the whole fact that, Matt's brother got killed and in the development of the technology or something like that, or, I don't know, just something that was, I don't know, something that was a little bit more,
yeah, something that would have been
viable.
Yeah, it would have been more viable and interesting. It would have pulled us into the stories rather than just have it be, just some shot and like some 3 or 4 second bit of animation when we call to whatever team member is going to be on the mission this week.
Right.
And I was taking a look at the box set from Shop Factory, which is a beautifully done set. I mean, thank goodness, Shop Factory put this out. As always, they do an excellent job on the series that they produce. But if you read the back of the box on the synopsis of what Venom is, or what M.A.S.K is all about, it talks about the Mobile Armor Strike Command, and Matt Tracker's a millionaire, and he puts this team together, and it mentions some of the team members of M.A.S.K and their backstories, and it even talks about how Venom is this evil organization and is responsible for the death of Matt Tracker's teenage brother. We didn't see that. Why didn't we see that in the show somewhere, or at least a reference to it? We wouldn't necessarily have to see the death of Matt's brother. Yeah, they weren't going to do that during an 80s cartoon, let's face it.
Right. Well, I mean, they did already kill Optimus, and they nearly killed Duke, so why not? Why not? I mean, but yeah, you're right. It's just, we didn't get that. We didn't... Again, I hate to compare it to something I'm already doing in production to air next year on GCRN, but you look at M.A.S.K and you look at Gem of the Holograms, you actually have a writer that wants to craft intellectually stimulating stories in Gem and the Holograms with Christy Marks. And then you have the people that wrote for this show, for M.A.S.K. And it's like, I honestly don't know what's worse. The cartoons for the Super Mario Brothers Super Show and Adventures of Super Mario Brothers 3 and Super Mario World, or M.A.S.K at this point, because I mean, those are, the Mario cartoons, they're 5-10 minutes, so they're half the time or 3/4 the time of what a M.A.S.K episode is. And sometimes they're better than this show, and it's like that I should not be able to say that. Because there are a lot of Mario cartoons out there from the past that are just... But overall, the concept is great. I loved watching the show as a kid. Today, I still love the theme song. I still love seeing the toys. As I said at the very beginning of this podcast, 2 years ago, or so, or however the heck long this show's been running, I honestly don't remember off the top of my head. I was the only kid out of my friends that had Boulder Hill. And I had Thunderhawk, I had Switchblade, I had Rhino. I'm sure I had Gator, or I know I had Raven, because Raven is essentially the carbon copy but slightly different version of Thunderhawk. I'm not sure if I had Gator, because Gator was a water kind of thing, and I don't remember that one, but I mean, I would love to see the toys come back. Like, Mattel, I mean, I know M.A.S.K is Hasbro and all that stuff, but Mattel has done, the Masters of the Universe Classics line, and Hasbro has the new G.I. Joe lines and everything else. And I would love to see 5 to 6 inch, like fully functional, fully articulated, sculpted mask figures with helmets, with the vehicles. I'd love to see an updated version of Boulder Hill in toys. I just think it would be really, really awesome to bring some sort of recognition back to the franchise and come up with something that is like if you're going to come up with a new cartoon series called Mask, or I mean, we've seen Thundercats, we've seen a new Voltron series. Transformers television cartoons have never gone away.
Yeah.
There might have been a few brief moments between '91 and '96 after G1 and before Beast Wars, but you know we had a He-Man reboot in 2002. We've had all these reboots, and I know everyone, including myself, are really sick of reboots at times. But honestly, Mask needs something. Mask needs a cartoon. It needs a movie. It needs, I would say, a cartoon series because you can do a lot more. There's a lot more room. It needs a fully developed, written storyline from the continuity of the fact that Matt's teenage brother got killed, and somehow he and Miles teamed up to create the mask technology. And we need something new. We need something today that, I don't want to say erases our memories of what Mask was, but
Hmm.
improves upon them. Because it just.
Oh yeah.
Out of all.
No,
Go ahead.
I totally agree. I think that, as you said, we are tired of things being revived that should, be left alone. But sometimes they can be done well, and some things are ripe for revival. And I think that, this is a great opportunity to take what was, a good property, but one that didn't really have the kind of success that I'm sure that they had hoped for, when they looked at
Right.
other shows at the time that were so successful. Like, He-Man had already come around. They'd seen the success of G.I. Joe and Transformers, and other shows. So I'm sure that they were disappointed that Mask didn't do better. I'm sure it sold a lot of toys, and those toys were popular, but it just didn't have the longevity. I mean, we talked about this on the show, is that there aren't the big conventions, there aren't adults wearing Mask T-shirts and baseball caps and different things. I don't see a lot of Mask fan websites. Not to say that they're not out there, but I'm just saying that if you total them up and compare them to other shows at that time, even Jim, you talked about Jim and the holograms.
Mm-hmm.
Mask just doesn't measure up. So I think that it is one of those properties that has, in large part, been forgotten by a lot of people. It's been 30 years now. So I definitely think that it's one of those shows that could be revived. And you talked about there might be a possibility of, some fans trying to get a Kickstarter going, or they're getting a Kickstarter going to try to get a Mask movie made.
Right.
Anything like that I think would be great. And sometimes it works out. Like you said, Thundercats, the newest He-Man. I thought those were excellent shows. I mean, they didn't get picked up for, you know, further
Further
seasons.
seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I know He-Man was on for, I think, 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, it was like 2.5, 3, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and sadly, Thundercats was, it was really hitting its
One.
stride. Yeah, and they only
Yeah.
got one season. But yeah, I think this is a good property that could be revived, and definitely it could be better the second time around.
Oh, absolutely. It really, really could. Um, you know, like I said, I honestly, looking through this series and these episodes, I really think my only absolute favorite one was, I'm trying to think here. Um,
Counterclockwise Caper, I know, was one.
yeah, was that the? Yeah, yeah, yeah. episode 24, season 1, episode 24, Counterclockwise Caper.
Mm-hmm.
I really dug that one. All of the other ones have interesting things that I like, but sadly, the bad stuff outweighs the good. I mean, I hate to say this, but this might be the one cartoon review podcast I wish I had never produced. It, like, as much as I enjoyed, discussing it with you and Kevin and I starting this and everything else and discussing it with him, as much as I enjoy us talking about it, as we've said in the last 3 episodes, the content is just god awful.
Mm-hmm. It's difficult to get through, no doubt about it. I mean, you sit down to watch a series like this, and it's 65 half-hour episodes. That's a lot of time to invest into a show that you don't really like that much.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can go back and revisit old shows, and they're maybe not the greatest, but they're still somewhat entertaining. It's like a B movie or something. You're still getting something out of it. You recognize that it's not the greatest quality, but it's still fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't describe this show. It's just so dreadful. I mean, I've gone back and watched a lot of older cartoons. Battle of the Planets is one of the oldest cartoons I remember watching as a kid. I've got some of those on DVD, the American updates to what was originally called Gatchaman. And they had to heavily edit the original Japanese versions because of all the violence and things in those at the time. And they invented this character, Zevon Zark 7, who is a robot underwater, supposedly at the base of operations for the team. Kind of like a T-Bob character that the kids are supposed to relate to.
Mm-hmm.
So they would insert shots of him where the violence was that they were cutting out of the episodes. And they, sort of what they did with Voltron and other cartoons like that, Robotech and things. But I've even watched the original versions, and, there are bad episodes here and there, but there's some pretty decent ones scattered in about them too, and it's fun to watch it. I still continue to watch them. I don't watch them very regularly, but I'm not like hating on it and not wanting to return to it. But Mask, I just had, like you, I had such high hopes for it, and I think the listeners would feel the same way, that it has such a great premise. It seems like a very exciting show, very cool designs. And then you watch it.
Yeah.
It is just, treasure hunt after treasure hunt, or, some way to steal money from some vault somewhere or something, or, it just gets so old after a while.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I wish they would take the concept of it and put a story behind it. You can still use the concept of Matt Tracker and the M.A.S.K team, Miles Mayhem and the Venom team, along with their transformable vehicles. You can still do that.
Yeah.
But you gotta write a damn good, mind-blowingly awesome story behind it.
Yeah, I mean, you even look at Gem that you mentioned. I mean, there's continuity in Gem. There's character development in Gem.
Yep.
They don't have that mask. How could they miss that mark with this? I mean, how could you not have some character development? How could you not have some continuity? Not even 1 2-parter episode in this series. That's a travesty.
Yep. Considering that's what the 80s was built on, was multi-part arcs. Most 80s series, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Gem, Voltron, started with 5, anywhere between 3 and 5 multi-part arcs to open their series, to get us pulled in.
Mm-hmm.
And M.A.S.K just doesn't do it. They just don't.
Yeah.
And I honestly think what it is it's because of who. It's probably because of who is the producer on it. It's not it's because of the okay, you look at Gem and G.I. Joe and Transformers, those are all three Sunbow properties, Sunbow Productions. While I'm sure they all have their flaws, you know,
Mm-hmm.
not saying they don't,
No.
but they did those shows very, very well and very successfully. And Mask was successful to a point, but I just don't think Deke Entertainment cared. I just don't think they cared. I mean, if you look at their at their productions, I mean it, you know, um, in animated series they had Decode Entertainment. Hell, let's see here. Let's see, Deke.
They have done a
Uh,
lot of series, and
they
a lot of good
have,
ones. Yeah.
they had the Littles. They had Inspector Gadget. Inspector Gadget might be their best series they've ever done.
Mm,
The
well,
the
I like the real
well,
Ghostbusters at first.
well, yes, but
It was a good series, though. They did a good job with
yeah.
Inspector Gadget.
They did Dennis the Menace. I mean, they have all these. Okay, they do have a lot of really good, dinosaurs. They do have a lot of really good television series here. Cops, as cheesy as it is.
Oh, I love
Um,
Cops.
you know, um, they even did the Power Team. Oh my God! But Wizard of Oz, Captain N, New Kids. Oh my God, New Kids on the Block. Holy crap! Um, so I mean, they do. Looking through Deke's little thing here on Wikipedia, they have a lot of really cool shows. I just think
Yeah.
some of them were handled poorly than the others.
Yeah, I really think that even more so than the studio, it comes down to the creative individuals behind the show because,
Yeah.
we look at the list of writers and voice actors credited on this series. You just don't have the caliber of creators on it that you do for these other shows. I mean, you talk about He-Man, you've got Paul Dini, you've got Larry DiTillio, um, you know, um, Michael Reeves, and these writers who have influences outside of television, and they have they pick influences from movies and from books and other media, and they don't play down to children. They
Yeah.
come in and they come in with fresh ideas, and they say, okay, we've got this property, and yeah, I'm running a kids series, but you know what, I'm going to write something that's fun that I'm going to enjoy. And
Hmm.
that's where we get characters, new characters like Larry DiTillio and on He-Man. He's produced the series of stories with Granomir, this dragon, on He-Man.
Hmm.
It's something that he created. He liked dragons. He brought that into the story. And to this point has done well. At this point of the podcast, the episodes that we've watched of He-Man, he's done 3 episodes with that character.
Yeah.
It's that kind of writing that is lacking in the series, unfortunately. So I really think that it comes down to that, and the voice acting, we talked about before, is just it's just awful. I mean, it's really doesn't measure up to a lot of other shows, and Deke, they did a good job with their voice acting, casting and stuff with their shows. I mean, I look at this list of shows that you were talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some very memorable action and comedy series on here. So, they know how to do it. I just don't think they had the right team behind Mask.
Right. Right. I mean, like we said, the toys were incredible. They, I'm looking at a couple of them now. Uh, I still think the only one that I don't like out of all the toys that they've done, and I know you're gonna disagree with this, but what the hell were they thinking with Volcano? What the hell? I mean, the toy, it functions like it does in the show, where the cab opens up and all this and all that, and um, it I just don't know what they were thinking. Um,
Yeah, you just keep hating on that volcano, man.
it just,
Yeah, I can see that even with the toy. I mean, it doesn't have the best battle mode, but with the toys, as you were talking about before, I really would love to see them do reproductions, even of the original molds if they still had those,
right,
because
yeah.
they did the same thing with some with He-Man. You mentioned that. I've got the one of the anniversary sets. I think it was maybe the 25th anniversary or something. They did
Uh,
reproductions of the original figures. So I've got the He-Man and Battle Cat 2-pack, and I've got the Skeletor and Panther 2-pack.
right.
So those are great. And then sticking with the He-Man line, like you said, you've got the Matty Collector line of figures for He-Man where they've updated them with new molds. Yeah, man, I
Yeah.
would love to see that done with M.A.S.K. Of course, it's a different toy company. It's not Mattel in this case. It's Kenner.
Right. Well, Kenner, I think, is now. I think they're now a part of Hasbro. I thought Hasbro bought them out. I could be wrong, but
Okay.
um, I think that was the case.
Yeah, we know that Hasbro is still very active with their properties. They're just looking
and
for
you would,
opportunities to make more money and produce more content. So there's always a possibility that, we might see something.
yeah. I mean, well, you would think that, yeah. The company was closed by its corporate parent Hasbro in 2000. So, 1947, throughout its history, Kenner brand produced several highly recognizable merchandise lines, including the original series of Star Wars action figures. So at some point during the history of it, Kenner Parker was acquired by Tonka in '87. Under Tonka management, Kenner Products was division. Tonka, including Kenner, was purchased by the toy company Hasbro at midnight. So Hasbro has owned Kenner since '91. They closed it in 2000. So they closed it 15 years ago.
Hmm.
But if they still own the rights to the Kenner properties, and they want to make, everybody under the sun, uh, a good buddy of mine, well, not a good buddy of mine, but a friend of mine on Facebook and YouTube, wherever else, Randall Nick, he and Dr. Smoove do these Transformers G.I. Joe mashups because everybody wants to see, Flint flying in Power Glider, Cobra Commander flying in Starscream or something like that. You would think with what the concept of M.A.S.K is, you know, it's basically Transformers meets GI Joe. And you would think that Hasbro would want to reinvigorate that and put something behind it and
Hmm.
actually craft a new like I would love to like I already said, a few minutes ago on the show here. If we had mask toys for today's standards of toy making, that would get the nostalgia buffs like us for the 80s properties. That would get us out in droves to the toy stores. It just seems to me like Mask for Hasbro now would make them a hell of a lot of money. And I know they probably won't do it because there's this whole thing, and this has been going on since God knows how, years and years, decades and decades. If in order to have a profitable toy line, you have to have a television series or cartoon series,
Yeah.
kind of going with it and working at it and getting people out there to buy the toys. I understand that. I think it's a cop out that you need to have the toys to sell the cartoon and the cartoon to sell the toys, but not necessarily a cop out, but I think it's just ridiculous. Uh,
Yeah.
but they could do so much with this. They really, really could.
Yeah, I agree. As we've been talking, I've just been thinking about what would I want. I'm
You'd want
envisioning.
that. You'd want Volcano, don't lie.
I would, but I would want Rhino more. Um,
Well, yeah.
so I'm just thinking, what would I want in an updated Mask series? And if I were at the helm, I would say, you know, pay homage to the original series and have the story be at least have a 5-parter, okay, to open it, like they did with
Right.
Transformers Prime, like they've done with G.I. Joe and other series, and basically mesh season 1 and season 2, and have there be a need for the team to go after a treasure or something, basically have to go after a big treasure for some reason, and have to race to different locations to get the treasure and have to race against Venom to beat them there for it. I think that would be really cool. Of course, bring in the characters, develop their backstories, use uh, what they do in their daily lives in the stories rather than just have it be there in the background. Use that more. And, now we're in the age where we have a lot of CGI shows. And I think this is where they could do a really great job with masks, because the vehicles would obviously be CGI. And maybe it would be an all CGI show, but I actually would like to see them do a 2D animated show with CGI vehicles thrown in, because now we've gotten to the point where they can do CGI vehicles that don't look out of place with 2D animation.
Right.
I mean,
right.
they really can do a good job of blending them. Sometimes, yes, I mean, they do look a little too smooth or maybe a little bit too blocky, but I really think it can work. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it could work too. It. I'm gonna link. It's gonna be in the show notes for this post, but there's a page on Facebook. I believe you linked it to me, and somebody else linked it to me, where they show mask vehicles in real life.
Yeah, I've seen those.
I believe the page is. I'm trying to look here. Uh, Mobile Armored Strike Command games and toys. It's facebook.com/masktoy, and they have an album on here where it's people designed, and colored these cars and trucks as the Mask designs. You've got Thunderhawk on here, you've got Rhino, you've got Hurricane, you've got Manta, you've got Fire Force, you've got Wolf Beast, you've got Firecracker, you've got Shark, you've got Detonator. So I'm gonna link this album in the post so people can see these, because these vehicles make me, really say that, hey, look, if Mr. Explosion can create 4 Transformers movies with billion-dollar robots in them, why can't we have a Mask movie or a Mask television series
Yeah.
that is live action? And with all the technology we have today, Mask would be so simple to do. It really, really would. I mean, you don't, because they're not giant robots like Transformers are. You don't need that much of like Thunderhawk. The doors open and the jets come out of the back.
Mm-hmm.
Rhino, the ram in the front comes out, and the stacks come down as laser cannons. I think the only one they might have a problem with is Switchblade. They might not have a problem with it, but they could, because it's a helicopter and a jet as well.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, it would be amazing. It really, really would. There's so much potential. We've said it the last 30 episodes. I'm sure other people online have said it. I'm sure there are other people out there that have love for this series, and I did too as a kid. As an adult, I don't think I'll ever watch this cartoon ever again, except for the theme song. I really, really don't.
Yeah, I'm not going to have any desire really to go back and watch it. I don't see any reason to.
I mean, 1 or 2 episodes maybe, but watching the series on a whole, probably not.
Oh no, I definitely won't be going through the entire series again. I mean, I'm sure at some point, maybe 10, 15 years from now, something I might go, wow, I've got that mask set sitting over there. It can't be as bad as I thought it was. Let me try it out one more time. Yeah, I mean, I probably watch maybe an episode here or there, but I'm definitely not going to go through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the vehicles. Even in the toy commercials, they had what looked like real life vehicles and people dressed up as members of M.A.S.K. You can catch those on YouTube, obviously, so people should go there and check them out. But I mean, that was almost 30 years ago. And what else did we have in the 80s? We had Knight Rider and we had Airwolf. I think those shows did really well and were successful and had a component there of some transforming vehicles. I mean, it could be done. I mean, we have the computers, the CGI has advanced so far. I just watched Transformers 4 recently, and I mean, what they've done with the Transformers movies, whether you like them or not, that you can see the computer animation has just matured so much that it's really not going to be that difficult to imagine a M.A.S.K. movie, or maybe even a M.A.S.K. TV show. I personally would love to see a cartoon series.
Right.
But yeah, it would be neat if they did a movie too.
Oh God, can you? I know they would never do this because it costs too much. Hence why Transformers Prime kind of went away. But I mean, the series did end and it ended great. But the cost productions for that show were through the roof.
Yeah.
But can you imagine a M.A.S.K. series in the style of Transformers Prime, like the 3D vehicles and all this and all that? Oh God, that would be amazing. It just would.
Yeah, I think it would.
Anything else you want to say about M.A.S.K, sir?
Just that it's one of disappointment. I really had hoped to enjoy this series. I was very excited about the announcement of the DVDs so that we could finally see it and see it in decent quality.
Right.
But again, I think the strong suit here is the toys. They're fantastic. They're great. And of course the theme song I really enjoy, but the show as a whole, it's just not very good. So, watch it at your own risk. You have been warned. It has a few moments, but on the whole, it just isn't very entertaining.
Yeah, it's kind of not.
Yeah, I can't recommend it. I really can't. I hate to say that, but
I hate to say it too. I just can't recommend it. All right, so I think that's gonna do it for us here in Mass Mayhem. Thank you to everyone for being so patient and waiting a few years for us to finish this podcast. I'm so sorry we didn't get it done at the time. I've kind of already said this. I'll kind of premiere the announcement here. Coming up next year for the GCRN's review podcasts that I do, myself and my two friends, Nicole Hailstorm and Amy Lady Wreck, we are in current production on Showtime Synergy. We are doing a gem review podcast. This one is in advanced pre-production, so when the episodes air, we'll respond to the website comments if you guys comment on geekcastradio.com, but we're not really promoting it as being able to send an email or anything like that, because we are fast tracking the production, because Amy is currently X number of months pregnant as of this recording. So I wanted to be able to get her to do the podcast before she has her third child. Because once that third child comes, she's not going to have any time to podcast. So we are adding two new ladies to the Geekcast Radio Network next year in Jim's 30th anniversary. So far on the production of Showtime Synergy. I keep telling Amy and Nicole I'm sending you guys my facial reconstruction bills because every time I have the two of them on, every time we record, I cannot stop laughing. It's just I, no offense to anyone that I've ever worked with, but recording with them might be the most fun I've had in 6 to 7 years of podcasting. Just every episode just leaves me in stitches. So I can't wait for you guys to hear Showtime Synergy, the upcoming Gem review podcast here on the Geekcast Radio Network. We are going through all 65 episodes of Gem. So far, as of this recording, we are up to episode 11 or 12 of the podcast, which is like the middle of season 2 of Gem and the Holograms. Very much fun. Again, thank you to everybody who has stuck with us here on Masked Mayhem. It has been an interesting journey to get this show done. You know, again, I want to thank Kevin and also curse Kevin since he brought up the idea for us to even do this show, and then he abandoned me, jerk. Anyway, no, you know, I want to thank Kevin for us, you know, starting this and being able to do it and being able to look back on it, whether it be fondly or not. I want to thank you, Tim, for coming on and basically being the Superman of this show and saving the damn thing from just lingering.
Sure, no problem. And, you know, thank you very much for asking me.
Absolutely. I don't know. Outside of the Gem show, I don't know what other review shows the GCRN is going to have in the future. For some strange reason, as we've been recording this, I have flashing in my head something my buddy Optibotomist said when we did a Wars episode together. I'm thinking of doing a Thunderhawks and Silvercats podcast, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing that or not. So, thank you so much, everybody. Visit geekcastradio.com. Call the voicemail line 502-526-5821. Thank you for enduring with us here on Mass Mayhem, the torture that has been M.A.S.K Mobile Armored Strike Command. I am TFG with Mike with
Toon Master Tim.
And remember, podcasting is the ultimate weapon.
Illusion is the ultimate weapon.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
Just kind of, I want you to be on the episode somehow, damn it. It's only right since you're the one that actually made me go through this torture because you're like, hey, let's do a M.A.S.K podcast.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, folks. TFU and Mike still here on Mass Mayhem's episode 30, the grand finale. You've just heard Toon Master Tim and I have a general discussion on the series overall, the toys and everything else, but I think it's only fair that the man that made me go through the 4 years of torture, or 2 years of torture, it seems like 4, it seems like a friggin' eternity since we started this show. The man that came up with the idea for us to do this podcast, Optimus Solo, is back on Mass Mayhem. Hello, sir.
I am back. Only to admit, finally, that it was actually my work with Venom to set you up for this. It was my secret plan this whole time to get you to have to go through the torture of watching all of the M.A.S.K episodes while I could take a quick trip down memory lane and then jettison out and leave you and Tim to have to suffer through the rest. Have
you watched any of the other season 1 or season 2 episodes? You haven't watched anything since episode 4? Okay.
Nor will I probably ever. No, I'm just kidding. I liked the idea of M.A.S.K, as a fond memories, even though I don't remember watching the show a ton, and I didn't have many of the toys, but I remember the toys being cool that my friends had. So I was like, oh, that would be cool to check out that series and actually watch it, since I didn't really watch it that much as a kid. I mean, I watched it, but not like I did some of the other cartoons. So I thought it would be a fun trip, and it was a fun trip at first. And then it just became a very bad series that I thought was better than it was. This just proves, though, that I'm not one of those people. Everyone always accuses you, if you like anything from your childhood, you're nostalgic crazed, or you're watching through rose tinted glasses, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's actually kind of bullshit. And it's just a cop-out that people like to say when somebody likes something from, their childhood and they don't because they're from a different generation or whatever. I don't like things just because they're from my childhood. And I am fully ready 100% to admit when stuff is bad from my childhood. M.A.S.K is bad from my childhood.
The cartoon is bad.
Right, the toys are cool. The cartoon was bad. I will admit that. Transformers, some of those other series
has its moments.
Aren't
they
bad.
all have their moments? Yeah, they all have their moments, but this one is just
every series has good and bad moments. But I'm just saying, overall, Transformers I can still watch. It's still fun. I still enjoy it.
Yep, absolutely.
M.A.S.K I can't watch. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that's kind of if you're wanting to relive M.A.S.K, you can watch one episode. It's basically the same episode for the entire series over and over and over again, which consists of T-Bob and whatchamacallit being, the annoying kid and sidekick characters, become, they travel to different parts of the world. There's some type of crucial artifact or important power that is withheld in something that M.A.S.K or that Venom's going to have at some point and then drop. And then after they drop it, M.A.S.K will recover it and save the day.
Have you, so you don't remember the racing series at all?
No, I never watched the racing series.
Okay.
I'm not into racing.
Yeah, we know. Or I know. The racing series, the only time Scott and T-Bob are in it is one PSA. And Scott by himself is in another PSA. And in episode 28 and 29 of the podcast, Tim and I were complaining. I was complaining that, wow, I really miss Scott and T. As much as I hate them, I really miss seeing them in the episode. And the racing series is nothing other than the two teams racing against each other. Sometimes there's a plot of what Venom wants to get, but they don't even drop it, like physically drop whatever it is. They just drop it out of the... You're right. Certain things with anything are going to have good and bad moments, but at least in Transformers, there are a lot of good moments that we can talk about. There are a lot of bad moments, but there are a lot of good. M.A.S.K's problem, outside of the music and the theme song itself, M.A.S.K's problem is consistently bad. Like one episode, the Las Vegas Gold episode, whatever the name of the gold, the counterfeit caper or whatever the hell it was, where Miles had some magnetic thing that was taking the money out of all the casinos. That's the only real good episode I liked out of the entire series, and it's just consistently bad. It really, really is. I mean,
well, it's just consistently just feels like repetitive. That's the problem with M.A.S.K is they don't change it up enough. They don't switch it up enough. I mean, the theme song's great. The toys were cool and unique. That's about the highlights of M.A.S.K.
Yeah. So you've moved on to a bunch of other stuff since you've been on Mass Mayhem. We brought the telecast back.
Yes.
We're bringing GCRN Retro back.
Yes. We're doing GCR Wars stuff.
Yeah, we're doing GCR Wars.
Done more episodes this year than we ever have on that podcast. We're doing the whole He-Man venture.
Yeah, and then coming up in 2015, we've got the whole She-Ra adventure that'll be coming up.
And there's also one other side project that I might have up my sleeve.
What's that?
Oh, that's yet to be mentioned.
Right.
So,
well, all right.
So we got a lot of stuff going on, and I don't have time for M.A.S.K. My time was much more better spent with these other things. Sorry, guys. Thanks to Master Tim for filling in.
Yeah, you think? And I mean, I love working with Tim. I said it in this episode. I've said it in the last 15 episodes. I love working with him, but it's just the content is just so bad in this series. So that's Mass Mayhem, folks. We're done. It's out. It's completed.
Never to be revisited.
No, never. This is the... sometimes I had broached Steve Megatron with this of going back and doing Beast Wars, Beast Machines commentaries on certain episodes for the Beast Unleashed to get that podcast to 30 episods. Mm-hmm. or whatever it was, or to get it to 50 episodes or whatever. M.A.S.K is one show I would never be able to do commentary on.
And even when we redo the animated series Top 100 at some point in the future, the only time you'll hear M.A.S.K mentioned is for us to apologize for ranking it in our first countdown, and that we will rectify that by leaving it off of the next countdown. That's it.
All right, folks. So go check out Tales of Eternia, The Powers of Grayskull, Tales of Eternia. That's our He-Man show. As we said, coming up in 2015, we've got Powers of Grayskull, Myths of Etheria, which is the She-Ra show that's coming up. I have got with Lady Rec and Beagles Diva. We are doing Showtime Synergy, which is our gem review podcast. So that's really, like, you want to talk about a show that has some really damn good writing. That's a show that has some good writing. There are a lot of things that are with that show in certain moments, but overall consistently good. I don't think I've rated anything to this point in the production of that podcast. I don't think I've rated anything under a 3.
Nice.
So, any final words, sir?
No, enjoy M.A.S.K for what it is. Listen to the theme song, play with the toys, don't watch the show.
Remember, podcasting is the ultimate weapon. We are done.